Good evening, I'm Zaraganat. Welcome to the studio. Right, well, tonight some more of this tiger. Sorry, I need to change my glasses. My eyes go weird. Hello Wolfie, good evening. Thank you for the host. Con Muscles, hello, good evening. Welcome. Nice to see you back again. How are you doing? Suddenly went from nobody watching to 2 people watching. So, just changing complete tacks in my mind. I was just trying to. I was just sort of doing some programming type stuff, as in trying to get a Python interpreter on a virtual machine to talk to me, to be able to copy the stuff into a real machine. Oh, never mind, don't worry about it. But it's a bit of a pain in the neck. And now I'm thinking about diamond dots. So my next thing is I've just done number 8. So the next thing on here is number 9, which is the next one in sequence. Ooh, you've got to be careful lifting and things. Got to do it all properly, corn muscles. Got to lift properly. Yes, that can hurt. The sort of traditional remedies are keeping it very warm. Whether traditional remedies are any good, I don't know. That and often ibuprofen. Sorry, I think I dropped one of these, but I'll never find it. And that's just so I can tidy up. Ibuprofen, yeah, because it's an anti-inflammatory. Right, so... Well, hopefully it does some good. Hopefully it does some good. They can... backs... painful backs can be a pain in the neck. I was, over the past week in the UK, I've been shifting quite a bit of snow. And my back was starting to sort of say perhaps you ought to be doing something else. Luckily it didn't get too bad. Well, outside the studio today has gone from the chocolate box picture postcard white snowy scene to, well, it's all green now, but it kind of looks kind of sad at the moment because all the pretty white stuff has gone. Not that it's nice being out in that pretty white stuff, but to look at it from outside the window is quite nice. All our stalactites have gone as well and made out of ice. Get some really pretty ones, all sorts of spiral shapes and with different directions the water had flowed. Now we're about halfway through this, I reckon. Bit hard to judge sometimes, but doing a bit more of this and then maybe, well then we'll be going back to doing the rug. But I thought I'd do something different for a couple of days and I could do with finishing this off. Just if nothing else because I've lost the plastic thing that goes over the front, so I don't want it getting all dusty. Well, silver linings and all that, corn mussels. Hopefully you do well with getting the right level of feedback on the stuff that you transfer to strangers. It can be quite weird sometimes. Which reminds me, you saying that, I must put a couple of items up in the shop, but I keep forgetting. There's always something distracts me, and so far I haven't managed it. "24 more days, is it, Wolfie?" Okay. What sort of ornament? The Christmas? You mean Christmas type ornaments? Corn mussels, you know, or 3D objects that are, well, I suppose a Christmas ornament can be. Yeah, what do you mean? Yeah. The Etsy store was easy to set up, but actually quite a bit of work. But that's the problem, isn't it? If you do things like a craft market, you need lots of stuff. I've kind of considered it more than once going to a craft market, but a lot of the stuff that I do is what's the word I'm looking for? More complicated than you find in a lot of craft markets, and therefore not as cheap as the stuff that people usually buy in craft markets. I guess I ought to do more commercial stuff occasionally, because it would be really good to help support the channel, but I tend to like doing the artistic stuff more. Come on, lose your static electric charge. I don't want stuff sticking. Thank you. It would certainly be good to see you to see a channel with another channel with pyrography on it, core muscles there. I occasionally come across the odd one. I don't see too many though. Mind you, I don't. Well, I was going to say most of what I do, I don't actually see too many of. I see a few people doing this thing, but yeah, there's not. I don't know. Well, maybe it's the time I'm looking at creative, but mostly creative these days seems to be people doing electronic art. Yeah, the 2.5 inch. Yeah, it's I know what you mean. It's like a tree slice with the bark on. I've seen quite a few of those around, and you know, the blanks to do things with, and I've kind of looked at them, but as I said, my style of art has not been really conducive to doing things on 2.5 inches, because that's kind of. I was about to make a generalisation. It's probably, you know, saying line art, but it doesn't have to be, of course. Even 2.5 inches, you can get a fair bit on. Yeah. No, I've seen The Art of Burns is one. Brown coat. I'm wanting to say Brown Coat Captain, but I don't think it is. He's another one. Brown. Sure, it's Brown something. And they're about the two that I have ever seen regularly. Bear? No, it's not Brown Bear, but Bear Coat Captain. There's something like that. I unfortunately can't remember his name. But yeah, there's and the odd person doing it, but then they're kind of like just putting initials on something, or, you know, so they're more or less just using it like writing rather than art stuff. But I keep looking out. It's always interesting. I keep, you know, hoping to see somebody and learn something and learn how to do new stuff. Yeah, it probably would. Yeah, I mean, my style does suit the larger stuff, because it's kind of like a portrait or a scene type of thing. So you're doing all the shading and stuff like that. Basswood is relatively expensive in the UK, but even the wood, you know, the large round blanks of that sort of medium, sort of, I'd say medium's what, about 6 to 10 inches and larger. They're really sort of pricey, and oops, those are the sorts of things you really do need to be able to sell in order to fund doing the next one. Yeah, you're pre-qualified for a mortgage. We're currently trying to sell a place, and other people's mortgages are starting to be a pain in the neck. With them suddenly deciding to get them and changing their mind as who to get them from and things like that. So it's a little bit of a naughty word at the moment in this household, is mortgage. Yeah. Indeed, I suppose, but I mean what you're looking at is really then becomes, yeah, $3 or whatever is you know, it's cost of time. I mean, that's what it is with pyrography. Okay, I mean, it sounds a lot when you have to pay sort of $20 or $30 for a large, you know, medium round or whatever. It's, I mean, even the stuff that I do use, which is the birch plywood, that A4 sheet is about $6, or would be. I mean, I tend to buy a larger one and cut it down a bit, but it's the time that you spend doing it. That's kind of the real killer, I suppose. But I mean, it's, you know, you have to buy the materials in the first place, and you kind of want to make those sorts of things back. Yeah, it is. And some of the stuff that it's away over there. But generally speaking, it is a 10 to 20 hour, as you've just pointed out, a 10 to 20 hour activity to do something like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's fun to do, and I do some, but if you want to make it commercially viable, they're not cheap. You can complete quite a few $3 little roundels in 10 to 20 hours. And in some ways it's quite hard with pyrography to make it oh, you're right. Yeah, that nobody will pay that sort of money, and it's you know, you kind of don't do it on that, or I wouldn't be doing it on the basis of whatever I get paid in the main job, but it is I mean, if you think like in the UK, for example, I think what the minimum wage is supposed to be about £7, so that's going to be about going to be about now. It's going to be about $10, I reckon. So you are still talking about $100, I guess, for a piece just based on minimum wage. And in some ways it's really kind of odd, because you'll get an artist, for example, and I'm generalizing, but generally speaking, people seem to be happy to pay an artist, for let's say an A4 canvas, same size, £100 or something like that. I'm going back into pounds, because they perceive that there's a lot of work. I don't know quite why they perceive that, and yet pyrography, as you know, is equally as much work, if not potentially more, and yet they sort of see this as just something. It's not worth it. Yeah, well, yeah, no. But kind of, as streaming, I kind of get slightly used to sort of doing euro and dollar conversions. Although actually, as it stands at the moment, the euro and dollar seems to be about the same conversion. We're gradually coming closer back to the £1 equals $1 basis. Oh blimey! Quids and tanners and threepenny bits, crowns, half crowns, the shilling. One of your favourite shows. The British version? You mean the original? Yeah, I've seen a few of the American ones, and I don't know. I prefer the English ones I've seen. I prefer, if only because they're a little bit more receptive to the help. I think is perhaps also uncensored. Oh, okay. Well, I'm not sure the constant swearing adds much, but yeah, I would say because of the swearing they weren't exactly prime time viewing, but they were after 9 PM, I think, most of them, but. Yeah, there've been quite a few really interesting ones in the UK. The people in America seem to fight with him more. I suppose I don't know, it maybe it's because he was more well known in the UK than perhaps in the USA, and because of that, you know, it's not like he's necessarily, I guess, seen as an expert, even if he is or not, I don't know. You don't always understand the sorts. I can't think of any examples, so I couldn't comment. I mean, largely speaking, this show's just about the drama, isn't it? It's just about the confrontations and what have you. And if you're lucky, there's a happy ending at the end where the restaurant, you know, is suddenly in profit and making lots of money and stuff like that. That's always the challenge, is that corn mussels. Finding the bit that you want to do. I always find it difficult if I've got a nice piece of wood, because I don't want to spoil it by doing something that's not worthy of the wood. And so I end up keeping a lot of nice wood. It's like when I'm carving and stuff like that. I don't just carve the first thing that comes into my head. I always, it just feels as though I ought to keep good wood for good things, but it's always hard trying to find something that's worthy of it. Yeah, that's yeah, the kitchens. It kind of, in some ways, it kind of puts you off going out to restaurants, though, when you see some of what they're doing and what some of the kitchens kind of look like, and it's kind of like, that could be that restaurant I just went in yesterday, you know? You have to sort of disconnect your viewing from real life. Sometimes if you can't think of a subject for a larger piece corn mussels, one of the things I sometimes sort of play about with is take a number of your little things and put them together. So you know, let's say you were drawing the outline of cats on let's say your little 2.5 things. Take half a dozen of those and put them into a bigger piece, reusing your, you know, the property, the intellectual property you've already created is one thing. It's a bit like the for Christmas I did a Christmas card, a paragraphic Christmas card, and what I was doing there was taking some trees that I'd done previously, you know, the idea of the trees, and then the idea of a cottage, and looking for a few reference pictures and things, but taking that sort of thing, putting the two together to come up with something that was just different. Oh right, hey, that's an interesting idea. That's It certainly is an interesting idea, is that one. And of course you don't run out of material, you just use whatever joke you last told. One thing I started doing, and it's kind of a tip that everybody, it is. I was going to say is industry wide, but it's kind of like sort of. It's a tip you come across in lots of places, and that is, if you think, as soon as you think of something, whatever it is, at any time of day, write it down. And just keep a collection of them, so that when you've got that piece of wood in front of you, and you're going, just what do I put on here? You can get the book out or whatever you've written them in, and just skim through the ideas until one of them just clicks its fingers, and you go, yeah, I can have a go at that one. You were part of about 10 ideas. Oh, well. So maybe the larger idea then ought to be something like I was going to say a tree, but trees come in many shapes and forms, on which you have got many of the ideas for ornaments. That way you could make sets, for example, a bigger piece with smaller cluster size pieces or smaller pieces. Outline of Arizona, yeah. That is a nice idea. That's the sort of thing which can be customised as well for people if they want it to do that. Which makes it, it does make it really personal. Although you either need a map or to be very good at geography. Ooh, 2 number 6s there. One of the things I do a few of, I do when I'm carving as well, because it's more like a practice piece, is a rose. And for some reason I always think of roses as being red, but Yorkshire, the symbol of Yorkshire is the white rose. The red rose is for that riff-raff over the border. Okay, I'll take a look after the stream, Corn Muscles. Always like looking at stuff like that, seeing what other people have done. Yeah, in the UK, sort of outlines of counties don't serve much purpose. Most people don't know what the county looks like. Well, you get some really interesting shaped cactuses. And cactuses grow flowers. I mean, yeah. I mean, flowers for anything are always a very interesting thing to do because of, you know, of all. If you're painting them because of all the colours that you can get, but there's just that many different shapes and things of flowers that you have such a huge thing to choose from. Yeah. I mean, I did the rose when I was carving because it's actually a relatively easy flower to carve. But it actually looks quite complicated because of all the overlapping things in the buds, but you can also, I mean, for carving you can also sort of compress it quite well, so it's sort of, you know, you use the perspective sort of thing to get a shallow relief. And one of the flowers that for pyrography that I enjoyed doing the most was actually this last Remembrance Day, because I did the poppy, and that's well along with the start of the traditional you know, the traditional poem "We Will Remember Them," and that one was one that I really enjoyed doing, just because it's got a really sort of nice shape, and you can get a really nice look to it, and it's not that complicated. It wasn't that complicated to do. It's not like it has hundreds of different shades in there, so it was one that came up quite nice. Another one that I've got on my list of things to do, but does need sort of fairly larger pieces of wood, and that is a couple of well, one of them's a sailboat, a yacht, with a spinnaker on the front, so the great big billowing sail on the front, kind of like a racing yacht. I've drawn variations on that for quite a few years, and it would be nice to sort of do that one in pyrography. Kind of needs a fairly large canvas though to make it look good. And the other one that's on my list of things to do maybe one day is something like one of the old three-masted schooners, something like that, something that looks like a traditional painting or traditional photograph even, I suppose. I mean, they would have been paintings, but one of the nice things, of course, about pyrography is it looks like a sepia tone photograph or an old photograph, which you can have quite fun with. Oops. Helps if I put a dot on the end of the pen before I try and stick it to the sheet. One of the things I do want to have a go at some point is I have a poplar ply sheet, which is this. Now this drawing board is what? A0. Is this A0? Oops, a daisy. That wasn't a good idea. So that's A3. That's it. This drawing board is probably about A1. So I've got a sheet, a board which is about A0 in size, and I originally got it so that I could cut it up, and I picked it up because it was really white. Was the board, but so there's it. I'm falling over. But I am really tempted to try and do something on the board itself, without cutting it up, just using it full size. And that's another one where I cannot think what to do on it. What's this stuff called? What's this stuff? The number 1. That's number 3. So that's probably what yours are there. Right. So what's it called? Okay. This is a clone of the, I will say the original, but there is something called diamond dots, and what diamond dots appears to be, because I've never bought one, is exactly what you see here, which is a picture. Often, I mean, this is completely covered in dots, but often they're sort of printed and only small or selected areas have the dots on, and they're little plastic dots like this, which are faceted on the top so that they sparkle, and you stick them down onto the board, you know, like painting by numbers. And they're very expensive. So this, as far as I'm aware, is a clone of, you know, it's been copied, and of course they call these things all sorts of stuff: diamond painting, magic dots, all sorts of sort of titles around. But essentially, it really is just little dots of plastic, flat on one side, domed on the other. The top has been faceted so that, you know, like a diamond, I guess, and I guess that's where the name diamond dots or diamond painting comes from. And they then sparkle like a diamond would do. So I guess, yeah, part of the idea is it looks like these are all coloured diamonds on that make up the picture, and this isn't complete, of course, but you can see it starting to sparkle. So if there's a light on this in any way, you walk past it, it just sort of shimmers. So yeah, it's sort of diamond painting, magic dots is sort of the thing you go looking for if you want the original. Diamond dots, I think, is the original. But the reason I haven't gone for the original is I think when I first saw it, I came across it on YouTube, I think, seeing somebody do it. Oh, it looks interesting, looked it up. And the retailers in the UK, let's say there was a kit of this size, will be charging something like £20 for just that. And to be honest, I looked at something like that, and you know, £20, that's a bit too much, to say the least. But what I did come across on the ubiquitous Amazon was a lot of the clones, and the clones look to be the same stuff, or similar, very similar stuff. And so I thought, well, let's have a look at them. And they were somewhat cheaper. And I got about 8 kits of stuff, and at least one of them was about twice this size, for £15 UK. And I've still got about 3 of them over there which haven't been done yet, so it seemed somewhat better value. And you know, and they may not be as good as the real thing, in quotes, you know, the original, but they're certainly good enough for me. If somebody ever cared to give me a real, you know, one of the original kits to do, I'd be able to compare them, but until then, it's what it is. They're kind of a good fun to do, because it is something you can do with a friend, for example, because you, or 2 or 3, I guess, if you put this down on a table, you can work from different sides. Trouble is, with these kits you only get sort of 1 pen, 1 tray, but I've now got 8 of these. So you don't need many before you rack up the tools to do the thing with. And there's no, you know, you don't, it's just like painting by numbers. There's no particular order to do anything in. You know, people start in a corner, some people start in the middle. I'm just starting with the numbers and going sequentially. So it's all you know, purely up to however you want to do it. So I don't particularly describe this as a craft. It is more just a I don't know. How do you describe something that doesn't actually need a great deal of skill to do? Certainly a pastime. You need a little bit of skill, I guess, to be able to land one of these things in the square directly, but other than that, it's a reasonably steady hand, I guess. I dropped this on the floor, and because I did so. I've now got hairs sticking to it all over. It is quite fun to do. I mean, it's sort of like you know, you when you're doing it, you end up sort of almost having little challenges, like just fill that bit in, or you go diagonally across an area and then make an. You sort of, I don't know, you're sort of playing all sorts of games with yourself almost. You know, sometimes you sort of do a whole line, sometimes you'll do a little square, and sometimes you'll go, I'll just go across there and then fill that bit in. And it doesn't, you know, when you're looking at it, it doesn't seem as though it's something that could occupy you for several hours, and yet time just vanishes fairly quickly when you're doing this. The other thing that you do when you're doing this is seriously underestimate how many dots there are and how long they take. When I got the kits, I ordered a few, and some of them were, I don't know, let's say there'd be something like this, which would be almost fully printed, but the eyes would be dots, the dots, and the rest would be just printed, so the glue's just on the eyes. And I'm exaggerating that because they're a bit bigger. Or it might be sort of like, if you imagine a lion on a prairie, well, the prairie in the background would be printed, but the lion would be in dots, and it would be sort of, you know, a few inches. And I remember looking at those, and I bought a couple like that, and thinking, well, they're only going to take about 10 minutes to do, maybe an hour if I'm lucky. I could do with one sort of, or two, which is sort of bigger, you know, maybe completely covered in dots. And I've done a cat. Which I'm not sure where he is at the moment. It was a large cat face, which is probably about half as tall as this again. And I was thinking, with that one, well, you know, it's not particularly large, but you know, maybe it'll take sort of 3 or 4 hours to do that. 20 hours later, still doing it. It is really surprising just how many dots there are. I mean, I think this is what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's probably about 7 or 8 dots to the inch. So you can imagine, if you, when you do the maths, they're sort of 12 inches by 10 inches. That's one heck of a lot of dots. And of course they are all put on by hand, one at a time. Although I have seen YouTube videos of people with a tool that sort of seems to have space to get 4 or 5 dots on the bottom, so they can put sort of 4 or 5 down at a time. But when I look at that, I think I'd spend more time lining them up to be able to use that, and then trying to find somewhere on the here to put 4 or 5 dots down together. That it doesn't seem particularly practical, but maybe they're doing different pictures to the ones I'm doing. There's certainly a lot of them around. The only thing you have to do, if I would recommend you do, if you anybody who's watching cares to go and buy a kit to do these sorts of things, be a little bit wary when you look at them, because a lot of the sellers have pictures, and they show a picture which, you know, looks like a high resolution picture. In fact, it looks like a photo. You know, it looks like a photograph. They show it on a wall, for example, and it'll look like a painting. but what they're showing you is the source image from which these were then made. So they don't, some of them don't actually show you the pattern, for example, and so you'll see this beautiful high resolution thing, that you can see the hairs on the back of the buffalo from 200 yards. It's there's that. But of course, when you come to put it in dots, you don't see hairs. An eye is the size of one of these dots and that sort of thing. So you have to be a little bit wary about what it is you're getting. Your best thing to do when you're looking for one is find a seller that shows you the pattern, so you can see the A's and the 1s and the 2s and the 3s on it, because that will give you an idea of what it actually looks like, more than the high resolution picture that they sometimes show. And of course you sometimes see this thing on a wall. They'll show a picture on the wall, and the picture is probably about 2-3 feet tall and 18 inches wide, but then you get the kit that you get is this size. And even if you framed it, it wouldn't be the size that they showed in their images. So some of them are a little bit naughty. So if you can actually if you're looking for it, look for ones that show you the patterns, then at least you know what you're getting. Because you can also see then if they are the ones with like a printed background, or it's some are dots and some's just printed, because then again you can see what it is. Because it can be disappointing if you think you're going to get something like this, a nice tiger face, and all you get is everything's printed and you've just got the eyes which are in dots, and it's kind of disappointing. But something this sort of size, do not expect to complete in a weekend. How long have I been doing this one for now? Let's have a look. So we've probably been doing this about 12 hours, and it's about half finished. Now I've been doing that on stream, so sometimes I stop and talk and get distracted and things like that. So it's not a totally solid 12 hours, but which probably puts this at something in the order of 20 to 24 hours to complete. I don't think I'm hanging about particularly when I am doing it, but you can see for yourself just how long I'm taking. If you're at all familiar with electronic assembly, you do sometimes get to feel like a human pick and place machine. It isn't something I would suggest giving to really young children, I don't think, but sort of older children who aren't going to throw the dots around and have enough control to be able to put one of these things in the right place. Would be perfectly fine. This is very similar to pixel art. I mean, it is kind of a pixel art. It is pixel art, not exactly similar. I mean, that's what these dots effectively are pixels. So anybody who likes pixels, this sort of thing, who likes doing pixel art, for example, this sort of thing could be quite an interesting thing for them to do. It's kind of an extension of that. Yeah, they're not doing the pixel bit themselves. They're, you know, working to somebody else's pattern, but it is pixel by pixel. Yeah, I might if when I get round to trying them. You do have the advantage with perlers that if you make a mistake, you can lift it off very easily. Well, until you fuse them. Or at the very worst, you just pick the whole board up and go bang and start again. Can't do that with this. I must get rid. I do have a perler kit here with photographic colours in it. I must at some point do it just because it's here. I got the kit originally just because I wanted to make sure I had everything that I needed to be able to do it, and it's still sat over there. And it's one of these things that finding a photograph that's good enough to be able to do it. Yeah, that's the hard thing, getting the right subject. With the perlers though, I like the little tiny ones. I love little pixels, or rather, I like detail. So the little perlers are better because I can get more detail in the same size. Yeah, you see, that's kind of something I have less of an interest in is sort of the alt sprite, the sprite type stuff. It's excellent for perlers. I mean, it suits them down to the ground, and the art style matches and sort of the pixel based basis of them sort of matches and things, but artistic wise, it's not a style which fantastically interests me. I'm more into sort of the more realistic looking things. So if you were to take a game, I'm more likely to do the background than I am to do the main character. But what everybody recognises is the character. So. Yeah, I got quite. Oh no, I was about to say I got quite annoyed. I didn't. I sort of rolled my eyes and tutted quietly to myself. When I was I actually first saw perlers on Twitch, and I forgot who it was now, but I used to watch them quite regularly do it because they helped me sort out, how to start, if you like, and help source, in this particular case, a kit which had lots of things in, had the things in it, had all the sorts of colours and things, and to be able to do it, rather than sort of buying sort of bags and what have you. And you know, when I was looking for it, trying to find somewhere in the UK that sold these sorts of things, it was quite hard to find. You could find, I could find a shop that would do, for example, that would sell the black, but they wouldn't sell white, or didn't have it available. And, you know, you look on another shop and they'd have white and pink and blue but not yellow, and it got really frustrating, which is partly why I got a kit in the end anyway. But the bit that made me sort of roll my eyes almost was literally, I think it was the weekend after the kid arrived, I went down to our local garden centre, which happens to have a craft shop in it, and you can guess at this point what they just put on their shelves. Was a whole kit of a whole set of perla stuff, all the colour, a rainbow of colours. That's just my luck, is that. Actually, it was cheaper as well, and it was online, so that's true, you did do wrong. Yep, now that I agree with you on the end. Try it and find out if you like it. If you don't like it, at least you've tried it. Yeah. Part of my difficulty though is I tend to like everything I try. I love creating images, pictures. And I tend to like detail. It's a hard thing to overcome for me, is not having details or not being able to do details. It's like with the rug that I'm doing at the moment. There's probably 6 stitches per inch. You can't get detail in that. You have to do it. You have to take the detail out for it to look anything like, and so you can't do sort of really, super detailed images, which is kind of what I like to do. But it takes a little bit of getting over for me, is not doing the detail. And I forgot why I was saying that. But yes, I mean, I tried carving. I like carving. I tried airbrushing. I love airbrushing. Tried scraperboard. I love scraperboard. I didn't go out and try cross stitch. Lady Zara had a cross stitch that she wanted done, and she doesn't have. Well, she claims she doesn't have the patience to do it, so I got roped into doing it. I like doing cross stitch. I like doing this. It makes a change from having to come up with the images myself and to sort of do intricate carvings or scrapings or whatever, colour mixing to come up with it. But I like doing the rug making. Everything I try, so I've got to be really careful about trying things, because if I try it and I like it, I just want to do more of it. And Lady Zara often likes the results of things, so quite a few. I've now done a few cross stitches for Lady Zara because she likes them, and she stopped it now, but she used to buy quite a few of them because you can never find them again. If you find a picture that you like, they sell out or whatever, and you can never find it again. So I've got a drawer full of cross stitches, which I should do at some point, but I'm always trying something new. I know later this year I'm going to say it again. A few people who have watched the stream probably already know this, but later this year, he says, it's still an if, not a when, but later this year one of the things I intend to be doing is to go spend a day learning about glassblowing, because it's something I've always wanted to do. Never thought I could do until relatively recently found out how less expensive it is than I thought it was. But before I sort of just go out and buy stuff, I'm going to spend a day with a tutor, if you like, learn a little bit about it, about how to do it, and then see if I like it. Ah, that's an interesting job if you like cross stitching. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting job if you can get a job doing that sort of, you know, whatever you like, isn't it? And teaching other people or things like that. Interesting though. You'll have to tell me what it is though. Well, you'll have to ask her and tell me what it is a cross-stitched instructor does, because I can't really imagine what sort of instruction you need. It's kind of thread a needle, up, down, up. That's your cross. I mean, yes, you can do it in certain ways so you use less cotton, but I can't imagine how you instructing cross stitch. Let me see which I think the thought just crossed my mind. There is the odd quirk to cross stitch where you got half stitches, half cross stitches, quarter and 3/4 cross stitches, which do complicate things a little bit. And I know from reading various articles and things that it does confuse people how to do like a half stitch, a half cross, and a quarter and a 3/4, especially if they're in different colours, so you get like a 3/4 stitch and a quarter stitch together. Okay, I think I've put all the... No, I was about to say I think I've put all the number 9s on this picture. I've just seen another one. You always find them afterwards. There's some more up there. It's like somewhere around here there's a number 4, I think it is, that I've missed. Either that or it's dropped off afterwards, which sometimes happens. You don't actually... You think you've put them down solidly and they actually aren't pressed down, they're sort of leaning on the dot next to it. And so sometimes, like when you drop it on the floor, they just drop off. one reason why, especially, well, when I've got the plastic sheet on, when I've finished it for the day, if I haven't lost the plastic sheet like I've done with this one, I put it over the top and then press them all down, just run my hands over. I guess I could always get like a rolling pin and do the same thing as well. It's a bit hard to do without the plastic because at the moment your fingers stick to the glue, which isn't good because then it tends to sort of weaken it. But once this is finished and there's dots everywhere, then that's, yeah, and give it a good pat down. Okay, what I wish I could do is the sellers send these out. They sort of fold them. I don't know if you can see the folds. They sort of wrap them up and stuff them into thin envelopes. And it'd be nicer if they rolled them, for example, or even left them flat in a big A4 envelope or something. Because getting these, oh, not exactly creases, but getting these bends out and actually getting it so it lies flat is quite hard. The only way I've kind of found of doing it with the others is once it's done, putting it down somewhere flat like on a board and sitting something on top of it for quite some time. Any more of the number 9 around that I've missed? I would say if you see any, let me know, but I'm almost certain you can't see the letters or the numbers. So 5, 6, 3, 2, 1. That's 4. Yeah, as you're going around with things like that, I've just seen a couple of squares up there where the number 4, which is a number I've already done, so I'm just going to see if I can get out 2 dots. Don't really want a handful, so who'd have thought that worked? Trying to turn them over, so tapping my hand so they jump. Oh, there's another number 4 there. I don't find cross stitch difficult. Now it may just be me. I mean, I know Lady Zara finds it really difficult when she's tried it. So I guess it's down to the people. But there are kind of techniques to doing it. So with cross stitch, you don't. Well, some people do a cross, so they'll come up, go down, come up and go down. But if you do it as individual crosses, what happens is you use about twice as much thread as you would do. Well, if you're doing a row of crosses, for example, what you do is you come up, bottom corner, let's say bottom corner to bottom right to top left, go down underneath, bottom right to top left. So you do lots of sort of left slanting lines. When you get to the other end, you start coming back the other way to complete the crosses. So that you end up doing a cross, but you sort of do half and then come back and do the other half. You work in rows. So if you're doing a square block, you do a cross, back, come down to the next row, go across, back, and things like that. And A lot of people do things like, well, they'll start in one corner and you work away from the corner. Now the reasons for doing that, especially doing what they call counted cross stitch, which means you don't have a pattern, it's just plain canvas, is if you try and start in the middle, you've got to find the middle of the canvas to start from, and it's a lot easier to start from one corner and count out. So you start with the colour in the corner and you do some of that colour, and then you sort of work your way from there. And you usually find that because you work on a frame that rolls, so they'll tend to start with sort of the top left or the top right because they tend to roll it away from them. So you're always working downwards. You start from one corner and sort of work downwards. So you sort of, generally speaking, go across the top and that way down. And you can have a lot of fun designing your own with cross stitch patterns. You can have a lot of fun designing your own because it's just pixel based art. So I mean, you literally can take a paint program, those that do it, well, a paint program, and go down to pixel level, and literally do pixel art if you really want it to. I mean, so you, for example, muscles, you could take your perler patterns and put them onto cross stitch. Now they would be a lot smaller because you're talking anything, well, depending on the size of the material, anything from about 12 to 20 crosses per inch. So you know, things come down a lot smaller. But you could literally sort of just use the same pixel based things, and you can use the same programs that you might use to design them if you have applications that help you do the design. There certainly are for cross stitch, where you can take like photographs and put them in, and you could do the same. You know, it works for cross stitch, works for perler and things like that, and they're interesting. Now then, what time are we? We're at 20:35. Okay, that's enough so we can do another colour. So I've just done number 9, so I guess I should start with 10, which is A. Which is a whitish sort of colour. Which isn't as white as it looked. That's kind of a greyy green. Oops, let me throw the old ones away before I open that. Yeah, there are a lot of cross stitch patterns that are traditional, I think is the way I might describe it. So you get things like well, samplers, as they used to be called. You get a lot of things like sort of what would be book illustrations, like teddy bears and things like that in them. Both Ladies Hour and I prefer a lot of wildlife type stuff, so things like this, if you like, in cross stitch. So we've sort of, a lot of the things that I've got are sort of, I don't know, it might be cats at night, or lions on the savannah, or a giraffe, or a lion's face, this sort of thing. I'm doing the letter A. I think these are meant to be a grey. You know, core muscles, of course, you could teach her. You just have to get her streaming, or at the very least sort of something like Skype, where you can have a two-way video exchange. So you could get her teaching you. All this talk of cross stitch is kind of making me want to do another one. Although that would almost certainly be something I'll do off stream, not on stream, just because I think it's cross stitches are something that only builds up very slowly. They are fantastic for being things where it's like a jigsaw. Sometimes you put lots of bits in, but you don't see the picture until you get to a certain stage where all of a sudden it goes, now I can see it. And cross stitch is a little bit like that at times, and that sort of can be several hours and things like that. So I'm not sure it's something that is really good for streaming. Although, having said which, I have seen people streaming it on Twitch. I think with that though, it's more of with those streams, it's more of people talking whilst cross stitch is being done, more than people watching cross stitch. A bit like going to a club or whatever, and while people do enjoy whatever the hobby is, and it's a meeting with friends and things whilst you're there. Oops, is it? Catching my glasses on the camera, not a good idea. Oops. These letter A's are relatively hard to see because they're amongst the X's. And A and X do look quite similar if you're not concentrating on them. I do wish I hadn't dropped this on the floor. Now what? My own fault, so I can only blame myself for doing it. I was about to say at least it's better than dropping all the dots on the floor, but at least with all the dots on the floor. The white ones would be easier to see, but it does mean that doing those are more time consuming to pick up, but they don't get covered in the hairs. We have cats, so there's always a few hairs around. Doesn't matter how often you try and get rid of them. The hairs, that is. Just in case anybody was thinking any different. And if anybody knows how to persuade foxes to move on, let me know. As there may well be one resident in our garden, and we would prefer it wasn't. Don't want to harm the thing, just don't want it to be here. There is woodland and similar very close by, so it's not like it would have nowhere to live. And we have been seeing it relatively recently, but you never have your camera ready when you see it. Which is kind of irritating. Dogs that don't shed hair. Wow. I'm kind of surprised. Maybe that's the breed of dog. Yeah. A long time ago I had a Jack Russell that used to leave hair around. But yeah, the cats do. Cats regularly shed their hair, especially in summer winter changeover of coat and things. Although I think ours being inside all the time, their fur gets a little confused as to just what it should be. No, this isn't the last colour. There's another 3 once I've done all the letter A's. Letter C, letter D and letter X. So there's, on this side, most of it is the white, which is the X, but there's letter C's, which is this sort of colour here. And then there's a letter D, which is a slightly darker version. So anything that looks like where my pointer is here, that's the letter D. None of that is done anyway. None of this colour, is like this sort of slight light brown. And the pure white hasn't been done. I think the pure white is one of the biggest colours. Because what you get with these is, when they come in packs like this, you can sort of tell there's more of them used than these, and there's more of them used than any of them. Because whilst they give you extra, they don't give you lots. Okay. I'm I'm not fantastically into dogs. I'm not fantastically into cats as such. I like cats, but I mean, I don't mean by meaning not fantastically. I don't know all the details of their breeds and things like that. Yeah, Lady Zara keeps saying she'd like to have a dog. And I keep saying I'd like not to have to walk it. 'Cause she wants the dog, but she'd want me to walk it. Now, I don't mind walking. It's just that with a dog, you have to go out regularly, etc. I like going out walking when I feel like it, not because I have to. I know Lady Zara keeps saying she wants a self-walking dog. Yeah. Yeah, that's something I have to do every morning. We don't. We used to, but we don't. We don't let the cats that are here now. We don't let out overnight. They're staying overnight. But we used to let the cats out all the time, 24 hours a day. Would come and go as they wanted to, and there's never any litter there to scoop up, unless we had to confine one for medical reasons. But the UK is a relatively safe environment for cats from the point of view of predators and things. Yeah, cats certainly have more of their own personality. No, that's wrong. They can often be more of a character, I think, than a dog. They're more independent. That's the word I'm looking for. They're more independent than dogs. And they do have this habit of either liking you or not. We have one of them. That sort of I guess he kind of doesn't really care for me, because he won't come anywhere. Basically, most of the time, he won't come anywhere near me unless I've got food in my hand, and he sort of doesn't sit on my knee. Doesn't particularly like me stroking him and things like that. And yet one of the other cats sort of is always there, sat by your feet. If you're not actually sort of don't pick him up, or he can't sit on your knee, he's sat by your feet. So they each have, just like any other animal, I guess, they each have their own personalities. Okay, cold muscles. Well, I'll be going shortly anyway. If I'm on mute, then unfortunately you probably haven't heard that, but I'm really reluctant to strike that too hard, because I know I'll just flick them out of the tray. Could almost do something with slightly taller sides. Come on, you. Little grey dot. Okay, I'm out of dots for tonight. I've got more of the colour, but I've just used the ones that are in the tray here. So I think what I'm going to do is, we are now just approximately at 5 to 9. So let me just do that for a second. There we go. Put that out of the way. My broadcast PC is over there. That's what I'm looking at. We're at a few minutes to 9 now. I normally stop at about 9 o'clock. So having run out of dots, it seems like a good point to stop for this evening. Getting there. There's at least another at least another 4 or 5 hours, I reckon, on this. It is surprising. I'm going to be interested to see just how accurate that guess is, because it is a total guess. It does really surprise you just how long these things take to do. What I'm going to do is say thank you to anybody that is watching. If you want to see me do the earlier parts of this, some of them are still available here on Twitch, but in the video section. But if you want to see any that aren't, there's almost the whole Zaragonart archive available on YouTube, youtube.com/Zaragonart. I should be live tomorrow evening from approximately 7 PM UK time. I may be delayed if I'm having an evening meal, and that's usually because I've got home late from work. So I will start as soon as I can after that sort of time. Follow me here on Twitch with the notification. I think you have to allow it to notify you, and of course then you'll get to know when I'm going live. Or if you prefer, follow me on Twitter, Zaragonart on Twitter also. That's twitter.com/Zaragonart, which is what I was trying to say. That's a useful one sometimes, because if I can't stream when I'm expecting to stream, that's when I'll mention it on Twitter. It's a lot easier to do that, especially if I'm out, than trying to log into Twitch and put notices on there as well. So Twitter, good place to follow. Motor Rux in dust stitching. Okay, well I'll take a look out for them and see what they do, Wolfie. Thank you. So what I'm going to say then is thank you again for watching. Thank you, Core Muscles, as you're saying good night. Good night. Also, well, good afternoon to you, I guess. With that, hope I'll see everybody on the next stream. Bye for now.